we will be understanding the principles or the first principles of governance first. If we have said governance, what actually governance does? What actually it does? Gives you a kind of good government, right? What is the difference between government and governance? The structure and the system is the government, and the process is the. Can't you derive the definition? If I say governance is nothing but government in action, yes or no? Government in action is a simplest way of saying that. This is not the only way of saying that. This is a very new concept and evolving concept. Do you know, in your country, when did the governance model for the first time came into your country? Yeah? In the year? Anybody? Any guesses? Yeah, go. 19? Charter Acts. Oh my God. We went very far. It's a very new concept. Yeah, tell me. 19? You are quite close. 1989 was the first time world thought about governance, this model. And India, we started implementing it after 2001. We will talk about these things in a very chronological manner. Getting it? So we can say that this is a very new concept. What was the concept earlier? We have to understand that in this context. Getting it? It is very contextual, right? So we have to understand what was this earlier. If we say governance, are we talking only about government? Only government in action? No, there are non-government functions also. There are NGOs, there are pressure groups, right? There are various forums. They also do some kind of governance, right? If we see, this is government and surrounding this is governance. And governance can be government actions. This is the simplest definition, but many a times the simplest definition is not the complete definition, right? Extra governmental things are also there. Extra governmental institutions or bodies, you can say. Lot of NGOs are working, civil society is working, that is also part of governance. What they do actually, what these extra constitutional bodies do? They hold the government responsible. Yes, they supplement the government as well as hold them responsible. Yes, they supplement the government as well as hold the government responsible. That means they fill the gaps in governance. They fill the gaps in governance, right? Wherever government cannot reach. Government is a machinery and it has limitations. So I was talking about the functions of the extra governmental bodies or institutions, right? They also are part of government. This has not happened in a day. For this, we have to study and understand the structure of the governments in the past. I'll draw a graph, and through that graph, we'll try to trace out the history, how things are changing and why governance is required. Then you will come to know what is the importance of governance, what is the function of governance. That can be better understood, right? Let us draw a graph. On the one side, we will be keeping the centralization, decentralization, and all those things. And other side we will be using here. We will start from 1900s, then 1917 is the another deadline. Then we have the another date is 1930. Then we have 1950s. Then we have 1970s. Then we have 1990s. And then we have 2000s. How things changed from the starting, from the beginning, right? You tell me. There is a bit of economics in this, right? Economics you have studied? Yeah. What kind of economics was being practiced before the, in fact, 19th century, 18th century, we can say? Yeah. What kind of practice was there? It was a classical market economy, barter system and all. Classical market economy. We will start things from here. Previously, there was a kind of classical market economy, right? That was deregulated economy, we can say. A graph goes like this. Peaks in, will not go that down. Make this graph like this, right? In the 50s to 90s, it will be at the peak. What is this actually? This is role of government. Role of government, right? Role of government. When it was a market economy, classical market economy, everything was deregulated kind of thing, right? Market forces were taking things, right? Thereafter, a new kind of concept came, and that concept was, this is one graph, role of government. Initially, there were market forces. Means market economy, classical market economy. Then they started introducing new kind of concept known as laissez-faire. Laissez-faire means free economy. Market economy converted into free economy. Something happened in 1917. Can you tell me what happened in 1917? What happened in 1917? Russian Revolution. Bolshevik Revolution. What is the concept that was brought by this Russian Revolution? Social welfareism came in. Yeah. Means the government regulations started creeping in. Getting it? So, here came the Bolshevik. Can you see from behind? Is it visible? Bolshevik. I'm writing a bit smaller. Right? Bolshevik Revolution came, and with this came the social welfareism. Social laissez-faire. Then came social welfareism. Yes or no? When social welfareism came, means government started taking control of the things. Yeah? They started doing things for others, for unprivileged sections, for poor sections. Getting it? Still no concept of development has come in the government. Do you know when when did this development system came into the government? Any idea? 1950, 1949 it all started with Truman. President Truman from USA. He brought the concept of development kind. He said that world is divided into developed and undeveloped. Now your world history is also getting connected. Right? So things, economy, world history, they all will connect and culminate into governance. Slowly and gradually will come there. 17 Bolshevik Revolution, government started intervening in the market. Right? Then came the 1929. What was it? It was Great Recession, Great Economic Recession, right? Great Economic Recession there, Great Economic Recession. Then came the Keynesian model of economy, Keynes model of economy. What was that? That government have to intervene in the market completely. They have to regulate the inflation. They have to regulate the value of the currency. They have to do all those things, right? So that the market stabilization is done. Getting it or not? Because what was the reason of Great Recession? Because market was free, more freer. From one side, the concept of socialism is coming up, which is giving more stress to social welfareism. On the other hand, market intervention is coming from government side, from the Western world. Both the things are coming up. Then came the World War. And after World War, in 1949, came the concept of World Bank. World Bank. They were first to talk about development, actually. This government's report, development report, who brings that report? The World Bank was the institution which was created, which was more concerned about development, governance and all those things. Yes or no? So, the term development started coming up. You can write the name of the President Truman. President Truman. Then, in 1970s, this was kind of peak of the regulation, means more role of government. Government's role was increasing slowly and gradually. We are seeing that government's role is increasing. When government's role is increasing, what is increasing actually is the bureaucracy. What is increasing is the bureaucracy. Means more and more control of officials. Right? Who are bureaucrats? What is the meaning of bureaucracy then? No, you are not bureaucrat as of now. You are going to become bureaucrat. Right? What is the meaning of bureaucrat? Tell me. Bureaucracy. Cracy is there and bureau is there. Two words are there. When you see democracy, demo means public, cracy means system of rule. Right? So this is system of rule. This system of rule is being run by officers, officials. When the system of rule is run by official, it is known as bureaucracy. This you know well, right? And in this bureaucracy, you have two kind of structure. What is the two kind of structure here? There is an office and there is an officer. Who is bigger, the office or the officer? Office is bigger or officer is bigger? You are saying that since there is an office, we are creating an officer. Is it so? Is it so? Think it again. Because there is an officer, he needs a staff. It is not the office which is creating the officer. It is the officer who is creating the office. If there is a prime minister, then there is a prime minister's office. Yes or no? If there is a prime minister, then only you will get the prime minister's office. Since there is a two category, one is the officer and the other one is office, and office means the staff. Office means the staff. When you say that bureaucratic model entered in the system, it means that more and more things are organized, well preconceived and well structured. Yes or no? Because there will be officer. Officer is a bit, who is having more control, actually who is having more freedom? Officer or office? Office or officer? Officer. He acts on more discretion. Yes or no? That's why you want to become officer. Because you want to apply your brain. You want to apply yourself. When you say in interview that why you want to become a IAS officer. I want to become an IAS officer because I want to apply myself to the widest of the spectrum. All those gaga. You do, right? Getting it? So discretion, more discretionary way of doing things. Here, more structured, more fixed way of doing things. The office, the staff, when you will go, they will have certain criteria. Fill this form. Bring those 2 documents. No 2 documents, only 1 document you have brought. 1 photocopy you have brought. Go back, bring the another one. We need 3 photographs. If you have brought 2 photographs, no, go and bring the 3rd one. This is how they work. They cannot change rules. They are bound by rules, systems and all. But the officer is a bit discretionary. A bit. Not much. So, they thought that bringing these things, this kind of control in the government will make the government efficient. But that didn't happen. In 1970s, there was a first lady who became the Prime Minister of United Kingdom. Who was she? Margaret Thatcher. Margaret Thatcher, do you remember that name? Margaret Thatcher, also known as Iron Lady, like Indira Gandhi, right? Margaret Thatcher, when a lady comes, she understands the nitty-gritties better than the men. Men used to function in a mindless manner, right? When you enter into the kitchen, you know things are organized, well organized. You cannot do anything there without her. And she starts that kitchen from scratch. And she knows the nitty-gritty. So administration and handling is better there. I'm not derogating the guys here, but you understand that when you see your home without your mom, it seems it is jungle. Yes or no? And when mom comes, everything is like that home has become a heaven. That happens because they have more organizational skills. So, Margaret Thatcher started thinking on this line and she says that my bureaucracy is acting as a hindrance. And they are inefficient. They are becoming inefficient because of their fixed nature. So, she started privatizing the things. She started decontrolling the things. From here, decontrol started. And similar was the practice in 80s by a US President, Ronald Reagan. This is known as Thatcherism. Thatcherism came in and she started giving more power to the private sector, giving up the task of the government to the people. Getting it? She started delegating things to civil societies, to NGOs, to private companies, more. Kind of liberalization, privatization got started with this Thatcherism. Getting it? It was in India, we have got the liberalization, privatization and the globalization in 1991, in 90s. But in England, it all started with Margaret Thatcher. She ruled for almost 15 to 20 years. And she changed the world from there. And that was also taken up by the US president. It is also known as Reaganism. This is known as Reaganism. Getting it? In political science, this is Thatcherism and Reaganism. Means they started delving more responsibilities to the private sector. Yes or no? Getting it? So what we are seeing, that role of government is slowly decreasing now. It is on fall. Government control is slowly and gradually falling, right? Reaganism, after Reaganism then came the LPG in whole world, liberalization, privatization and globalization. What is the meaning of liberalization then? Just the basic concept behind the liberalization is giving up the control. Giving up the control, making the things more liberated and handing it over to the private, right? Privatization is the means and liberalization is the end, right? When it is in a country, internally happening in a country, it is liberalization and privatization. When it is linked with the world, it is globalization. Getting it? So lesser control. Then came up the concept of, from here, the concept of, from 89 for the first time, the concept of governance started creeping in. And after the governance came in, people started thinking of more kind of governance. Means what governments, what new thing governance brought in the government? What new thing it brought? More accountability. That is a part of your syllabus. More transparency. Part of your syllabus. More inclusivity. Part of your syllabus. This is governance, accountability, bureaucracy, inclusivity. This is your syllabus actually of governance. In the governance paper, we are going to learn about these things and development. The crux of the governance paper is governance, bureaucracy, accountability, right? Civil services and all in bureaucracy. Then comes accountability. Then comes transparency. Then comes development. This is all. These are the 4 words which define the syllabus of governance. From here, we will start. Governance means we will start more accountability, more inclusivity, and more, what we call that, development. Yes or no? This graph clarifies the journey of governance, how it all started. From here, we can say from 90s, governance started. From here, governance, after governance, LPG came, and LPG is a need of governance. If you want good governance, it needs LPG actually, right? From good governance, we started moving towards e-governance, corporate governance. We have given the task of, suppose hospital was the task of government taken up in 1917, that all the hospitals will be built by government. Hotel were not task of government. But Indian government has certain hotels also, IRCTC hotels. Yeah. Nehru and Vajpayee, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, they fought in the parliament on this issue. Atal Bihari Vajpayee says that what is the task of government in the hotels? Why you are building hotels? Build hospitals. Nehru replied, if we are building hotels, the earning will come from hotels that we will be investing in building hospitals. Getting it? This is the kind of approach. So, slowly and gradually, we are giving to the private sector, and now we are trying to regulate the private sector again. Getting it? What is happening at the upper level? Just see. This graph continues further. We are seeing that slowly and gradually, there was a control, better control, means centralization was the key of the government. Slowly and gradually, centralization increased and increased and increased. And thereafter, it has started decreasing. Now we are moving towards decentralization. Centralization. And now we are moving towards decentralization. Initially, the government started centralizing, and now the governments are becoming decentralized. Are you getting this graph or not properly? Decentralization means what? Distributing powers. Initially, the government started capturing power and slowly and gradually started releasing the powers. It is all the game of power. Getting it? So, we can say, as the democratic value increased, as the democracies kept increasing, getting it or not? Since centralization was increasing, by the time democratization has started. But as of now, we are seeing that we are moving from centralization to decentralization, and democratization is increasing higher and higher. More democracy, more liberalization, more release of power, more decentralization, more good governance, more participatory government. This will happen. Just imagine, in 1950s, we implemented a plan known as Community Development Program. Yeah? How many of you have heard about this Community Development Program? Not many. Panchayati Raj institutions, have you studied that? Which committee recommended Panchayati Raj institutions? Initially, the Balwant Rai Mehta Committee. Actually, this Balwant Rai Mehta Committee was not for prescribing Panchayati Raj institution. It was set up to study the failure of Community Development Program. Because Community Development Program created posts like VDO, Block Development Officer, and all those things. They thought that this model, bureaucratic model, will create development in the country. That did not happen. Because that was a kind of centralization government did. In 50s, you will see centralization was being created. Balwant Rai Mehta said that, make it a point that when you are giving more democratic power to the people, then only your development will take place. Means PRIs must come into picture. There is a 3-tier model for PRIs that was being prescribed by Balwant Rai Mehta. And later on he said that it should be made a constitutional unit so that this power is ensured to the people. Means initially we were using what kind, many graphs you can draw. Many graphs you can draw in this. Laissez-faire and all. Social welfareism. Many graphs you can draw. Can't we draw a graph like, when you are picturizing these things to answer the question, what was the need of governance? Why we need governance? If you draw a graph and explain like this, won't you get more marks in the mains? Obviously, you will get better marks if you draw these kind of flowcharts or graphs or maps or like that. Getting it? When we say, initially there was a top-down approach. This was a top-down approach. Now we are going to the bottom-up approach. What is the meaning of top-down approach? Centralization means the things will come from above. What Gandhiji said? Gandhiji said Gram Swaraj. He talked about Gram Swaraj. I am linking that thing also. Right? So Gram Swaraj means what? It is a bottom-up approach. Though at that time in 1949, 48, 49, when this discussion was going on in the Constituent Assembly, what happened? Ambedkar opposed this bottom-up approach. He said that our villages are den of darkness. Illiteracy is there, superstition is there, religious and caste parochial tendencies are there, because of which they will be, in fact, not able to do justice. Secondly, there are people who are having more power in the villages, and there are people who are underprivileged and deprived. Those deprived will be excluded from the society completely, because those who are at the upper level like jamindars and upper caste, they will grab the power in their hand. So no bottom-up approach was in fact allowed that time. But later on, as we started developing, reaching towards the grassroots level, now we are thinking of what? Bottom-up approach. Did you understood this or not? This graph cleared your background and why the many concepts of governance, right? Some factual informations we will be in fact doing from there, so that you can make a proper notes of the things. For that I did some mind map to show to you. I'm not going to dictate those things. I'm not going to write those things. That takes a lot of time. Till now things are clear or not? Now, from here, we will understand a bit of bureaucracy, then we will understand accountability and responsibility, then we will enter into the whole governance chapter, right? Right. So, in that background thing, we will do together. Let us do the bureaucratic model first and then, right? What is bureaucracy? What is bureaucracy? Tell me. It is not getting connected. What is bureaucracy? We have defined to a basic extent what is bureaucracy, right? That is, it is a rule by officials, right? The meaning means rule by officials. Why we need rule by officials? Why we need this? We need it for two things. It is the inclusive distribution of resources. Yes or no? So that nobody is excluded. Government took the control of the thing in 1917. Why? They became social welfareists. Why? Because they wanted to distribute the resources in a manner that nobody is excluded from this. To avoid that exclusion principle, they brought the inclusive distribution of resources, and for that we need bureaucracy. Because bureaucracy is what? It is impersonal. It does not ask the caste of the people. And the person who is ruling or in the power, in the office, is impersonal because he have no personality of his own. Whatever personality he shows to you is the personality of the office. Yes or no? Is the personality of the office. Secondly, bureaucracy is required to make the things, make the government applicable in a formal manner. A king is there, PM is there, he cannot reach everywhere. So a formality should be there so that nobody can come and claim that I am your aunt's son, please give me some benefit. No, they cannot give that benefit, though you know what is happening. Nepotism is at high on bureaucracy. This was the ideal type of bureaucracy which was actually created by people like Weber. Max Weber created this as a very highly appraised ideal type model, but this ideal type did not work. When there is a bureaucracy, means your duties are fixed. Yes or no? You are more formal, you are more formal, you are more impersonal. Yes or no? You are more hierarchical. Hierarchy is there. System is more organized. Organized. It is more process based. It is more process based. Yes or no? And everything is fixed. Your duties are fixed. Your salary is fixed. Salary or remuneration, whatever it is fixed. Duty is fixed. Everything is fixed. You cannot go this way or that way. You don't have flexibility here.